Hi everyone, I'm Arihant Gupta. I'm a problem solver and a techie, and I have been working with Booking for the last 2 years, and I've been working on search engines within Booking for the past 1 year. All right, and today me and Priyanka will be talking about evolution of search within Booking and how we drilled down and broke it down from a complicated problem to a simplified search experience. And to begin with the presentation, there's no better way than a pop quiz. Assuming you have a search engine on your website and someone comes and searches for something like KipDib, what would you suggest? Well, this is what we suggest. How many of you guessed that? Show of hands. Nobody? How many of you think this doesn't make sense at all? Perfect. That's what I expected. Well, sadly, it does make sense. Why? Well, people, instead of doing that, they did this. So we solved the problem of edit distance on the keyboard. So if you are writing London, you actually moved one key to the left, and you ended up writing KipDib. How did we actually figure that out? Like we, while sitting here, couldn't figure out KipDib means London, but our search engine did. Short answer, data. Long answer, well, that's why I'm here. All right, so let's move on. So what search means, right? So there are two major challenges in search. The first one being understanding what does a user mean when they write something, right? And the second problem is ranking the results. So even if I know what a user means when they type something, how do I rank them? I know there are 10 objects which match that, but which one to show first? So this is a problem with precision and recall. And what does this mean for Booking in itself? Like for Amazon and Allegro, it means something in the field of e-commerce. But for Booking, it's travel. We know that when people come to our website, they're searching for a travel destination or a property to stay at. We also know from all the data that we gather from their interactions with our website that majority of the users don't go beyond 3 tokens. So knowing these constraints, knowing that this is the kind of information they are looking for, these are the kind of searches they will do, how did we actually approach the problem? Well, we started pretty primitive, and we started with the basic MySQL search, as usual. So we have a database where we have all the destinations and the hotels, and we do a regex search. But all of us can already come up with a lot of problems with this solution, right? The biggest one being scalability. Given the amount of destinations and the hotels we have, multiplied with the languages we support, this is too much for a MySQL database to handle. So we cannot scale this in the given context. Second problem, ranking. Even if I know that these are the things that match whatever the user type, how do I rank them? Third, what about errors? Like, I'm pretty sure this would not handle KipDib ever, because no matter what edit distance algorithm you use, KipDib will never actually come down to London. So this also fails that. So there are 3 major problems which this solution misses. How do we solve them? Well, to give you a brief overview in infrastructure-wise of autocomplete, that's a service we built, this is how it looks like. It's a pretty brief overview. We have a database which has all the knowledge that we actually want people to be able to search on. We have multiple shards. Each of these shards is a reverse index shard, which is Lucene, and we have Java APIs written on top of that to help us leverage the power of Lucene. On top of it, we have a coordinator, which sounds fancy, but it's basically how it coordinates between multiple shards to get at the results. And then we have a client and a user. Technology-wise, we moved from MySQL to autocomplete service, which has Envoy for discovery, which helps us tackle down any problems with latency or failovers. We have cron jobs, which run regularly to build the index. And we have Lucene reverse indexing, which makes the searching faster. This currently solves one challenge that we had in the previous solution, scalability. And this solves that, how? Because it allows for horizontal and vertical scalability. We can increase the number of shards, and we can increase the number of replicas per shard. But there's still 2 problems which are missing. One is errors, how do we encounter them, and ranking. And to complete that picture, well, most of you would be wondering, where is the fancy ML stuff? Where is neural networks or convolutional networks? Well, sorry, there's none. But then, OK, if you don't have that, then how do we take care of errors and ranking? We encountered that problem, and we've realized that the best way to actually approach this problem is look at the data. Analyze data from all the events that users generate. We see the user behavior. How do they interact with our website? How many searches do they do? How many times do they not get a result, and what do they do? Do they bounce off the website, or they keep searching and searching and searching till they get something? What kind of searches and mistakes they do? We realized that when we were actually analyzing this data, that people have a pattern in the kind of mistakes they do across languages. Like if, let's say, I want to write Paris, a lot of people in English, they will write P Paris. And in London, they will write Kibdib. And similarly, so we saw that there's a pattern when we actually drill down on a language as a one primary feature. And what kind of clicks do they generate? This helps us analyze how do we rank them. So even if I know that AMS could mean Amsterdam or Amsterdam City Center and Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, how do I know which one to show first? Well, why not users let us tell that? So knowing that, OK, if we look at the data and we can already realize what do they want, how do we go ahead? As you all know, Booking is a pioneer in A/B testing. So we keep on experimenting and validating our hypothesis. And this is the fun part, because this is where you actually get to test all the models that you build. And as I said, that when we were actually analyzing the data that we had, we realized that there's a pattern in the kind of mistakes when people make when they're searching in a particular language. That gave us the first breakthrough. This model is search and click. So this model attributes search strings. So imagine you come to a website, write Kibdib. You don't get anything. Then you realize, oh, yeah, I wrote wrong. You go back, delete Kibdib, and you write London. During this entire process, you generated a bunch of strings. You wrote Kib, no results. You wrote Kibdib, no results. Went back, made it London. And then you actually selected London as the final object that you were looking for. This tells us that Kibdib, Kib, and London, they can all point to London as the final destination. So the next time someone comes and writes Kibdib, we already know that this is probably something they want like London. So we use language as a primary feature in this model. And why did this work? To give you a context, we process around 1 billion data points every day to generate this model, to realize that what kind of mistakes are people making and what are the best recommendations for that. So this model solves the two problems that our infrastructure couldn't solve: errors and ranking. Because this also tells us that even if they write AMS, they probably select Amsterdam more than Amsterdam City Center, more than Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. This kind of completes the picture. And these are the end results. Amsterdam gets mapped to Amsterdam. I don't know how to spell Pennsylvania, but my model does. I don't know how to spell Marseille either, but apparently people do, and they help me figure it out. Well, this opens up a whole new world for us, because now we can keep on adding more and more features into ranking our results better. The next big step we took was, what if I can see what do they search and end up booking? So even though I select something, if I don't book it, it's not as meaningful to me if I search something else and then book that. So I can attribute those things to the strings that people write. Well, this is all fine and dandy, but then again, is this it? No. Well, we realize that, fine, we can help people kind of personalize the results based on language. But then again, there's an Amsterdam in USA, and there's an Amsterdam in Europe. So when someone is writing AMS in USA, do you want to show them Amsterdam in Europe, or do you want to show them Amsterdam in USA? Well, we don't know, but our data does for sure. And that's when we realized that the country of the visitor is an important component in deciding how to rank the results. So we have kind of the same model, but different set of features. So instead of language, we are also using language and the country code of the visitor. This means that when I search for York in Europe versus when I search for York in USA. So not only it helps me correct the mistakes and rank, it also helps me regionalize the results. I know that I'm more prone to book Yorkshire when I'm searching for York in United Kingdom as compared to York in USA. Well, this has a high click-through rate, and this works pretty good for all the users who search for less than 3 tokens. But then again, there is a small set of users who go beyond that. What about those people? Well, we just don't go ahead and start patching this model up for those people. We go back again and start analyzing our data. And we realized these are the set of people who have semantic elements attached to it. They're doing searches like hotels in Amsterdam, resorts in Spain, right? And this meant that probably they want sort of a semantic search engine now, and not just a travel destination or a property search engine. Did we go ahead and just build a neural network to solve that? Not exactly. Well, we first need to make sure that this is not just by chance. So we started giving them an option that even if they search for that, we give them some results. And we started seeing that people shift more towards doing these kind of searches as they were before. This is definitely a signal. We definitely need to move on to this. And then we introduced semantic search into booking. So it started with a pretty basic one. We know that majority of the users search for something like hotels in Spain, which is like a property type in a destination. So we began with query tagging. We can already tag elements in the queries into destination and property types. This can already help us know, hey, this is the property type they want, and this is where they want to go. And we are already highly optimized for search when the people search for a destination. But how do we know that this new approach is better than the previous one? Because, of course, when people wrote hotels in Amsterdam in the past cases, they probably removed hotels in, searched for Amsterdam, went ahead. Well, we showed them both. And then as they kept on typing, and then we kept on seeing user behavior, that when they write hotels in something, they actually want a result from this. And the end result is something like this. So when you do apartments in Amsterdam, we understand that, and we tell you, hey, yes, we are going to take you to Amsterdam page, and we are going to search for apartments only. This opens up a whole new world again. What if the next user wants to say apartments in Amsterdam with Wi-Fi, apartments in Amsterdam with free parking and pets allowed? Well, definitely. That's the holy grail of search. I want to be able to do this. But I don't want to go there and just build it. I want to take incremental steps, and each step, I'll be solving a user problem which exists, and I'll be doing that after always analyzing my data. With this, we have solved the first problem. We have helped the user reach a point where they know where they want to go, but there's still a second part of the mystery which is missing. That is, where do they stay? And Priyanka will actually take you through that journey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Priyanka. I'm a product manager at Booking, so I primarily work on the mobile apps part of the search experience, but not limited to that because we work very closely across all the platforms. I've been a techie for about 10 years now, definitely a data lover, which gives me power to now use data across a search experience to personalize it, and we solve a lot of user problems. A brief about Booking, what we do there, we are a leader in terms of the accommodation unit bookings. To just give you a brief idea about our scale, we have about 1.5 million room nights booked per day. We have about 27.8 million listings with us. The number of destinations we are in is about 144,000. This is not just to say like we are huge, but actually to give you an idea about what is the scale of data we have with us. This data really empowers us to personalize the experience, not just in search, but across our platform. But I'm primarily going to talk today about how we use it in search experience itself. So when the users click on search, basically what next happens, right? So do you think when users are searching, let's say for Warsaw, are they all looking for the same thing? Can we use the same results for everyone? Probably not, right? They could be couples, families, budget travelers, business travelers. So probably there's a definite need because each of them we already know has a very different need because they may be looking for different things when they're traveling, right? This gives us quite a chance to see what can we do based on each of these traveler types for our customers, right? This is quite similar to any other e-commerce platform that exists, right? Like Allegro, when a customer comes there, maybe is looking for, in a specific category, also a very different kind of products because not every customer is the same. So there are a couple of use cases that I'm going to talk about today, but just to give you an idea, like when users start searching, the good thing with us is we already get a lot of information, right? Like what's the destination a customer is traveling to? How long is he going to stay there? How far ahead in the future is he going to travel there? Which kind of tells us how sensitive he may be about different aspects of the booking. How many of them are really traveling together, right? Is it a family? Is it a group of friends? Is it a solo traveler? Are they traveling with kids? Which kind of tells us what are their needs, basically, when they're going to stay there, right? Also, if a customer is a business traveler or a leisure traveler, their needs could be very different. So all of these factors already tell us a lot about a customer and help us really change the experience. Now, surprisingly, not every customer tells us if they are traveling with their kids. So that's where really the power of personalization kicks in. And we use some of our models like look to book, look to click based models to identify what could be the need of a customer, right? So yeah, like why do we really need personalization? We have, as you would have guessed by now, like for a search, we could even have thousands of results. So is it fine for the user to go through all of them and make their choices? Probably it's not all that easy. And when they have a lot of choices, it's very hard for them to make a decision to book. And they may not end up making that decision and just leave a platform, right? That's exactly why we need to help them find those relevant results faster. Now, I'll talk about few use cases. The first one being personalization within the same search. As they're interacting, as they make a search and come to search results, they're interacting, they click on certain properties, see what that property is about, and then they move ahead. So basically, this itself tells us a lot about what kind of properties they're interested in. And opens us a room for us to change the next set of properties they may see. Like if you see this web screenshot, we've recommended 2 properties there based on what they really clicked on. And how we do it, basically when they click on a property, there are a couple of property attributes we know of, right? What is the price range of that property? What is the location of that property? What kind of a review score it has? And so on and so forth. Same can be applied to any other product vertical also, right? Like if you pick up a fashion category, that the fashion product has a couple of attributes. So let's say it may be a dress type, what is the color, what is the price, brand, material. So it opens up a great avenue to personalize the experience, not just across searches, but within the same search, because as the users interact with your platform, you're learning more and more about your customer, and you can keep changing in terms of what you show and recommend to them. So yeah, now, not just within the same search, as I mentioned, the more prominent one is also across searches, because a customer, when it comes to spending money, may not make the decision to spend the money in the same go, right? He may make multiple searches, look for different things, share with friends, and then really make a decision to book, which gives us great space to really change what kind of properties they start seeing next. So let's, for example, if the user makes a first search, his results may be this, as compared to when he comes back and makes a next search. His results have changed. And how do we do this? Basically, because he interacted with a couple of properties, we learned a little more about him. And there's a pattern we could figure out the kind of properties he's liking, and that helps us improve what he sees next when he comes back with us. So that kind of gives him, a better search experience overall. Now, not all the users are gonna just go by what you recommend them and just gonna go ahead, pick up the properties from there and book, right? Some of them may be very particular users and they're more advanced in nature, so they really know what they're looking for, and they may want to filter and choose what they have. You may think that, oh, filtering, why do we need to personalize there? But just to give you an idea, like, you may have like hundreds of filters on most e-commerce platforms, and on an average, a user may be selecting just 2 to 3 of them. So selecting 2, 3 of those filters out of 100 and like going through each of them may not be as easy a thing for a user to do. So which again opens up a venue to explore that can we really personalize the experience? Can we do something to help the user there? There were some early indications we got on analyzing our data. So let's say for business travelers traveling, they would mostly prefer breakfast included properties, or if the book window is long, it's little in future, like a month from now, they may tend to prefer free cancellation because they're not too sure, how are the circumstances going to change when he's really going to travel. So these really indicated us that some of these customers, based on the traveler type, may have more specific needs. And I think we could do something in terms of changing the filters they may see. And our models have helped us do this for our customers, right? So when you make a search as a solo traveler, you're probably more budget sensitive, and you're more likely to use a price filter as compared to when you're a family traveler, right? You may be more specific about what kind of a property you may stay in, probably looking for an apartment as against a hotel, or the kind of facilities you may need in the apartment, because you may also want to cook or things like that. So those filters get ranked a little higher for family travelers. That's just an example, but of course it could vary based on who you are, where you are searching for, and things like that. So yeah, next, now when a customer has made a search, done a booking, he a lot of our customers are also loyal customers. They would make multiple bookings on a platform, right? How many of you think personalization across bookings can have great impact? Show of hands there. Well, I think the others who did not raise their hands were more accurate because travel being a low frequency thing, personalization across bookings is not as easy a problem, right? Because, oops, sorry. Yeah, because on an average, a customer may be just doing 2 to 3 trips in a year. And also, over a period of time, their travel behavior may change because now they're, if you look at 5 years data also, they may now be married or, they may be earning more or their preferences in general have changed. Instead of liking mountains, they like to go on, to other kind of places. So yeah, so personalization in that kind of aspect across bookings is not all that easy for us as compared to more high-frequency apps like Uber, etc. Well, we talked a lot about personalizing the experience, and we can take it to any extent. But I would also want to point out to this aspect that do you think there is a line of personalization we need to stop at some point in terms of what we recommend to them? And I'll take a simple example here, right? Like, if you start telling the customers that based on the data we have, we know what kind of a budget are they most likely to stay in. If you start telling them that, you can see fine properties within 85 euros, how are you most likely to react, right? May not be the best experience for the customers because they may feel that that's a little too much of privacy because how did we know about what's the budget like? And possibly they may not really want to stay in that same price. Their needs may be different for different situations. So yeah, you may feel like if you actually cross the line of personalization, it could really negatively impact the customer because in some cases you may be, they may feel that they're losing their privacy or your prediction hasn't been too accurate, so the chances of because there's not 100% accuracy in prediction, so the impact of a wrong prediction could be a lot higher in such cases, and that could make the customer actually stop using your site and really drop your conversions. So probably it's important to be careful about where you stop personalizing. Well, that's what I had to share, and Arihant and I are now going to share some key takeaways with you.
Yeah, so we have talked a lot about search and search experience, and then this is like the concentration of everything that we talked about. First one, data is your best friend. Whenever in doubt, look at your data. When we were building semantic search, it would have made sense to go all the way and build a really fancy model. But then we don't want to do that. We want to solve customer problems and not build what we want. Always do it in incremental steps. If customers or users need it, they will tell you why the data. Second, optimize for requirement and scalability. Don't build something which works today or maybe 1 year down the line. Build something which can survive you for at least the next 4 or 5 years. Because you don't want to keep on coming back and back again to improve your infrastructure. You want to improve your product and then give users a better experience.
Yeah, and the other example that I talked about, like build your hypothesis and think of the data needed and see how rich the data you have, right? So the example of past bookings, if the data is not too rich, howsoever good your model may be, it may not be predicting very well, and you may keep iterating, and you may not have much success there. Another one, so know when to stop personalizing. So that's, I think, super critical because we all, as passionate data lovers, would want to solve more and more of the problems, would think that let's not have too much of user interaction and stop personalizing, and want to give all of the data upfront to the user, but probably there's a thin line of stopping to personalize there. And lastly, test everything you're doing using A/B tests, right? Because we are using data, we can use data also to validate how is our change really impacting the customers. And what's the best is like when you make your changes and you have good supporting metrics added there, it really helps you understand how well it's impacting your customers and what next steps you need to take. So it's important not to take anything as a failure, but to actually learn and then make progress. So yeah, thank you all for your time and your patience today.